What led you to reach out to ask for the training?
The breath work spoke to me because I've been practicing in one capacity or another through yoga, through childbirth education, Lamaze classes, just through stress management tools as a therapist. And so always have been drawn to the breath. And then we had a really powerful session. Granted, Costa Rica is magical, but it was a really wonderful experience of 40 minutes of the controlled hyperventilation and a beautiful integration experience afterwards. So it stayed with me. And then I know we talked a few times just in passing at the retreat. And then I came back and was just pondering that, and a combination of things came together. I had your number and reached out, really thinking that you had already begun training or doing some type of certifying, something deeper than just a breath experience. And so I was drawn to it from our experience and my love of it and belief in it, the power of the breath before the retreat, and then calling you and you just hearing me on what I was seeking. So it came together beautifully. And the way I understand it now, as we've spoken, is the modules, because of your academic experience and the professionalism and just the attention to detail, the modules were unfolded and we just went through them. And I learned monumental amounts.
I do see this as really important work because it's really closely connected to a lot of these states that we see people seeking out now. The suffering is increased, and there are certain folks that are hitting plateaus in talk therapy. And so they're looking for other modalities. And the breath and meditation is a stabilizer, even though it's not something that produces results right away. And when I think about breath work, I think about integration now much more closely.
And to follow up with your mention of the psychedelic, since there was a psychedelic component, although that wasn't the whole week for me, but that certainly was an experience and a first for me. And without the breath to integrate the plant medicine, the psilocybin, I think it would have been much less of an experience overall to have that to enter into and to come out of. And then even the weeks and months that follow, which we know the integration happens for that long. So it all just brought you back to it.
What was the experience of going through the training like for you?
Because of the beauty of the flexibility you offered me, it was really great because I didn't feel like it was rushed and I was able to explore the modules. The way it was broken up, I felt like I could really read it, digest it, marinate on it, look at the questions at the end, and it was very thorough. And then our sessions, while they often veered off track in the most meaningful ways, I think it was great though. That's why it all came together for me because it
Yeah.
wasn't just regurgitating information that I had read, it was integrating some of the stuff in. And then you would just go, hey, let's breathe. So we might be in the middle of talking about the Bohr effect and learning
Yeah.
about the CO2 response. And you're like, hold on, let's just experience it right now. So I think the way it was experiential mixed with the academic was very powerful and stayed with me.
Curious as you've gone through this training and you pull from so many modalities that are part of your practice and your lived experience, like how do you see this method of integration that uses the breath through the clear path? How do you envision applying this to your work in a therapeutic sense?
That was really my goal initially, to expand on what I was already doing by way of explaining functional, dysfunctional breath work and maybe doing a box breath or a 4-7-8 and all that. So I'm more empowered to do that because you've really explained deeply or driven that point home about how it's working in the physiological here and now sense and how that is training for in that moment, but it also is bleeding into the hours and days that come for people. So in session, I'm more apt to carve the time, even when they say, I don't want to breathe, they push back. Also, then to do some group classes and also maybe to push a little deeper, even in a session, in a 60-minute session where I cut it at 30 minutes and just insist that we're then going to enter into more of a deep breath work where we do the 30 to 40 counts with a gentle hold and let them experience it, because I know often I feel resistance and that's hard. But I think it's empowered me, the training, to really introduce it in a way of just, it is in my heart that this will help
Mm.
you. And then the separate from that is, like I said, just doing some group, which is really going to be neat to see how this unfolds, and hopefully will be a bit of a snowball effect for
Yeah.
people that aren't even in therapy.
The two words that you shared that resonate with me is embodiment. And so in this practice, whether you're a facilitator or someone that is trying it for the first time, it's a somatic experience. Becomes something that you can bring yourself back to as, yeah, a reminder or helping with awareness that doesn't necessarily live in the thinking mind. And there's definitely a depth to this practice that even as we guide others or we experience ourselves, we're remembering something. And that something for most of us lives outside of the thinking mind. Embodiment is a big part of it. And also, it's the ability to deliver it to all levels and groups of people. There's so many people on this planet, and one-on-one work is great, but anytime that we can expose groups to a modality that they can have a shift, I think is a real gift to share. How do you think about integration work now that you've done this training? Right now, there's very little awareness around integration and what that means and what that process looks like. I'm curious, as a clinician and with your therapeutic expertise, has this process for you changed how you think about integration or how you'll approach integration moving forward?
I'm very spiritually driven, so that's an easy one for me to fall into. That's not to say all my clients or people I come into contact with will be there. But again, if it's lived, if it's embodied, if it's experienced, and if it's so transformative, you want to give that to someone else. They may not know or understand, but I think less talking and more guiding, I'm going to prioritize it. Like I said, even in potentially half of a session, which is a big chunk depending on what modalities we're using. So integration is, first of all, to me, it wouldn't be explained, it would be felt, because I don't think
Mm-hmm.
people can grasp it. Some may be further along than others, but it is very spiritual. It is a connection with some higher power without question. There is that state of floating, of accessing altered states of consciousness. I don't think people really grasp that until they feel it. And then they go, what was that? Actually, I was in an altered state or mystical state. I do have one person who, I am not an addictions counselor, but she is working actively on her sobriety. She comes to me because we had a relationship, but then she does do other work specifically with a CAP, a certified addictions professional. But at the end of the day, habits, forming breaking habits are equally difficult. And she has begun doing breath work at home, also with her legs up the wall, which is another way we incorporated it. But what it has done to her nervous system is her cravings, if she has them, it's one powerful tool that she said just takes away her craving entirely at the end of a day, which was a trigger for her. End of the day, I've earned this. And so thus it would lead to a night of overindulging. What a wonderful thing. She looks forward to breathing now at night because she
Mm-hmm.
knows it will help her in the physiological state, like cellular repair, immune response, nervous system regulation, all those wonderful gifts to her body, but also keeping her in a sober state and not fighting it, almost like flowing with this new tool, this new practice. And only because she's felt it, it's not out of duty. She has felt the gift and the fruits of her breath work. And now she's able to look forward to doing that at the end of the day.
Who do you think that this training is best suited for? And for someone deciding, what would you tell them?
There's a lot of life coaches out there, of course, yogis, clinical therapists, different types of therapists who specialize in different modalities. But I feel like any of them can benefit from it because it's so concise. The 5 modules, they're really broken down nicely with our practice sessions that really drove it home and made it resonate deeper than just reading it on paper. And then of course, anyone who just wants to deepen their own practice, whether they're thinking, it's like me getting my yoga training. I practiced yoga for 20 plus years and I just got certified to teach because I wanted to deepen my practice. Someone might practice breath work and want to go deeper in that, have you as a sounding board and a platform to grow and understand all the parts of breath work. I think that it could be used for a clinical therapist, a yogi, a life coach.
Anything else that you want to share that you didn't share?
One thing you didn't ask me is why you versus someone else. There's a lot of
Oh,
trainers.
yeah.
I have explored a lot. I do believe it becomes a little bit rigid and very much the consumer model was daunting to me. And so I would get real close to signing up and doing it. And then something just pulled me away, or I just wasn't quite sure. So I think the fact that your academic experience, and you're very meticulous, the slides and everything is really visually appealing, easy to learn from. And then, of course, just your patience and your passion for sharing this is contagious. And that truly is, after we talked a few times and I was like, this just feels really like a great investment. And it is an investment, like anything, it should be. So that would be my only other addition. I'm grateful that I went to Costa Rica. I'm grateful that you were there last minute doing your piece and it was meant to be. So I hope that it keeps growing. And I would tell anyone to call me and I'll chat with them about why it would not be a mistake.
Nice. I know you've already done that a few times, so thank you.
Yes.